Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Thursdays. It is May 12th, 2022. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the chat window. Our speaker will be taking breaks and we'll get those questions answered for you. For those watching on Facebook, you're welcome to enter your questions in the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and we'll get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. You're also invited. This is a networking seminar. The object is to network with everybody else who's on the call today. So please put your information into the chat window so everybody here can connect with everybody else who's on the call today. It's a great way to network and increase your LinkedIn connections today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called Career DFW to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. We have a great session coming up tomorrow morning. I'll tell you about it at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Remember, your LinkedIn profile and your resume is not going to get you a job, but it will get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, it's what's going to get you your next job. So if you'd like to have more information on how to sign up, go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, every session we've had on speakers or had on networking, we've had a different speaker. And here's the list of speakers. Here's a picture of all the different people who've spoken to us over the last couple of years. Today, our speaker is Walt Glass. He leads the Interview Success Workshop. He'll tell you about that in just a second. And his topic today is networking, informational interviewing. So welcome, Walt, and thank you for being with us.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome as well. So would you like me to talk about the workshop now?
You can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about.
Okay, well, what's going on in the grocery store? It's a good thing I don't need baby formula, whatever. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about networking and informational interviewing. So I'm going to try my advanced sharing this time. Jeff? So how does that look to everyone?
It looks good.
Okay. All right, so who am I? Well, I'm a retired guy, worked in IT for many years, worked on interviewing and leadership development for several years within inside of that, helping people to do a better job of hiring. After leaving, after many years of working and flunking an interview back in 2000, I decided to focus on interviewing. And so I put together a workshop. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So today's topic is the networking and informational interviewing. So we'll just talk about a few things here. Maybe you've heard some speakers before. I'm a very practical person. Whenever somebody says, you know, you need to go work on your resume, that doesn't tell me enough. I like to know some more details, or do this or do that. So I kind of like to get down into the fundamentals of things. And so that's kind of how we're going to do this and approach this today on networking and informational interviewing. Interestingly enough, the LinkedIn survey says that, you know, most of the jobs are not posted. If you haven't heard that 5 or 6 or 7 times in a few months that you've been searching, you're hearing it for your first time now. But most of us already know that. A company will go out and look internally. They will see if people know other people outside, but still internally before they post. They don't want to go to the job boards if they can find something and not spend the money, etc. So that's happening, and then they'll put them on the job boards. Now, some companies are required to post jobs, you know, federal, government, state, things like that. We'll be putting things out there. Interestingly enough, How much time do we spend surfing the net? Or quite a bit, according to the survey. But 85% of the jobs are actually filled through networking, and 40% of that through referrals. So we can network to get a referral, network to get information. And so it is an interesting number that only 7% of job searches use referrals. Well, that's kind of an amazing number. So we want to kind of up that percentage. So I have a poll that I'd like to ask you today. Jeff put it up there. How much time do you spend during a week, applying online, sitting there, looking at your emails? If you're registered on several boards or a few boards and they're sending you all these emails. So you're looking for a nurse job and they send you a truck driver job description, all that kind of stuff that happens. So where do you spend your time? So 1 to 2 days, I'm seeing that. I can give you a couple more minutes.
If everybody will take a vote, you can just, go take the poll. And for those watching on Facebook, just enter A, B, C, D, E, or F in the comment field.
I'm not looking at my chat window today, Jeff. Let's see, I do see something, there's a B. Okay. So we're saying one of us says, I'm less than a day. 1 to 2 days is 2. A couple of us are doing 3 to 4 days. All right. Well, that gives me some information on that. So let's. Have you seen the results? Can we show those? I guess you have. Maybe I can. Well, let's go to the next poll, Jeff. And that is, how many days a week do you spend networking?
Okay, that poll is up.
You're good, Jeff.
Well, this is the 493rd workshop we put on. I ought to figure it out. I ought to be able to do it by now. Okay, this is spread pretty well across the board with our primary participants. So we've got one person less than a day, another person less than 2, so that's 2 less than 2, and there's 2 people that do 2 to 3 days. None in the 4 or 5 is 1, and greater than 5 is 1. So that's some pretty good numbers there. Thank you for those results. I'm going to give you an idea of what these results have been over time in a second. Before I get into that, it's some interesting things to know. You've probably heard about the 6 degrees of separation. There's only 6 links away from me finding somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody in the world, all right? And now with social media, there's some say that that number is even less, but the whole world's not on social media yet. But nonetheless, there's a 6 degrees of separation. That's a pretty amazing number. Interestingly enough, 2 links have a 50% chance of success. So when we're asking a question for a referral, for information, or for something like that, we ask a double question. We don't just say, do you know someone in this company, or do you know someone who knows this person? You want to know someone, or maybe know someone who knows someone. So you get the 2nd degree, and you're aiming for the 3rd degree target. And you got a 50% chance of having success if you ask that type of question. So it's very critical of the question that you ask in trying to make your connections. Well, who are you trying to network with? Well, very basically, we're looking for information. And we may be looking for people inside of target companies. So basically, there's information and there's referrals. Well, networking for information and networking for getting contacts with other people. We're never not networking. We should always maintain that networking mindset. I mean, right now you're online and you're networking. You may put information or stuff into the chat window, that's networking. But how do we prepare before we start the networking?
you got to know what you really are selling. You got to know about yourself. But what is it? What can you say succinctly that says, here's what I do? It's also known as the unique value proposition, with the unique selling proposition. You have to have a resume, and it should match and be consistent with LinkedIn. For networking, a biography is the best tool. I know Jeff votes for the biography. He often talks about Mina Brown's book and the sample bios that are had in the back of that book. But the biography doesn't say we're looking for a job. It just tells something, information about us. So that would be an excellent tool to have in your back pocket. Your attributes, your experience, and your achievements inventory. You'd be able to describe yourself. You'd be able to talk about your experience and what you've done in the past, and the achievements, which is how you help. So we have to have that information ready. We need to have our references ready in case somebody wants to contact our references. And then you have to prioritize your target industry, companies, and information. So what do I want to know? Who do I want to know? And which company do I want to know it from? So those three things, the people, the company, and the information, should be on your list for your particular informational interviewing. And then potential LinkedIn connections research. There's two things you can do about looking at you can look at it yourself and diagnose and look at the activity and things like that of people on LinkedIn. But there's a crystalnose.com. We're going to look at that. It uses, I can't remember which tool it uses, but it's an assessment tool. And it assesses, looks at all the information on LinkedIn of a person and tells you a bunch of things about them. You might check that out. I think you can get one free, but you might want to know about that. And that's pretty good. So if there's somebody you're going to talk to or interview with, that might be some good information to know how you can more effectively communicate with them. So let's talk about networking just a moment. It's relationshiping. That's my words for it. Networking is relationshiping. So I'm going to use a couple of terms here. A contact is someone we know very little about, or they know little about us, okay? And then a connection is a little bit stronger than that. It's someone with whom we have a relationship. So this definition is not the same as a LinkedIn definition. Many of our connections in LinkedIn are contacts. We don't know them very well. They don't know us very well. So we want to look at our connections in LinkedIn and say which ones are contacts and which ones are really the connections that we have. So once we know that we have some kind of connection, then we want to rate them. So I want to rate them by what they know about us, not so much what we know about them, but what they know about us. What do they know about us and our personality and our character? What about our experience? What about the kinds of things we've achieved in the past? So we rate them just high, medium, and low. Significant knowledge, some knowledge, or low, has little knowledge, all right? So we're trying to weed these out and make a list of our best contacts and connections. We then want to rate them by their willingness to help us. Some people know us, but they're not willing to help very much. And so high are happy to help, medium will provide some help, and low is like no help. Putting those down together and rating them and get them a little matrix going across, then you can prioritize those lists and say, now, my top people for networking are my A1s and my A2s, followed by my B1s and my B2s. So a lot of knowledge, willing to help is top priority. Those are the people that ought to be at the top of our list. When we want to expand our contacts to connections. So there may be a connection on LinkedIn that is a contact that could help us. And so I would like to start building a relationship with that person. It's interestingly because sometimes we don't like doing networking type activities because, I haven't talked to Jeff in 5 years, and now that I need some help, I'm calling Jeff. It's like, yeah, my children don't call me, must need money, all right? Otherwise, I don't hear from them. So we want to kind of avoid that and start expanding your contacts or connections. This is a lifelong professional task. You don't just do it when you're looking for jobs, something you continue to do. So who are our connections? Well, you're looking for people who are mentors, those that are coaches, people that have industry knowledge, people that know about what's going on and what's happening, the trendsetters, the connector. Who do you think is the most significant connector that you know in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Anybody got a guess? No guesses? Nothing in chat, Jeff? Okay, Jeff, maybe you know who it might be. Okay.
Sorry, I can't get my mic. Here we go. I got my mic going.
There we go.
Who's the big connector? I say Foster Williams is probably the best connector here in the DFW area.
Right. All right. Well, I've got a couple others in chat showing up. Jeff, you're a good connector. Terry Sullivan is a connector. And so there are people out there that have some really good access to people. And Foster, his main purpose in job search life is connecting with other people. That's what he does. And he knows, tons of people. And so does Terry Sullivan. So does Jeff. He knows a lot. So those are people that can have that access to people, resources, and information. So Jeff is the king of resources and information with his careerdfw.org and Career USA. A tremendous amount of information out there. Jeff is the master guru of that and makes it available to many people, easy to access. The idealist, who can we dream with and talk about and say, well, I'm not sure what I want to do, so let me look at this, talk about that. And you can talk with people who can help you flesh ideas out. Then there's the realist, also called pessimist. Because every time somebody says they're an optimist, and you're always negative on something, no, I'm just being a realist. But we need to keep it real. What's really going on? What's happening? And then the visionary. Who are those that are looking forward? How can they help us? And they can inspire us and help envision our actual path. And so that's a great person to network with. Then a partner, someplace it's in a person that's in a similar place, similar path. So they're looking for the same type of job that you are. Those are great to get with. And then the wannabes, they can help us guide based on our experiences. And we can serve as a mentor to someone else. So those are the different types. And you want to kind of look and say, well, which are the types that I need for the right information or what I'm trying to accomplish? Also, I would suggest that you get a diverse network. So you're looking at different industries, different backgrounds, different age groups, ethnic groups, etc. So we're getting perspectives from a large variety of resources and sources of people. Let's talk about referrals for just a moment. In referrals, if I have a referral, then what do? Well, I'll make a cold call or cool call, which says my referral source is passive and says, give them my name. All right. A lot of people say, yeah, call Jeff and just tell him I said for you to call him. Happens quite a bit. That's the cool call. The warm call is when the referral source will introduce us by phone or email. Better is they suggest a meeting, and even best is they put a trilateral meeting together and introduce the parties. So we like to shoot for the best if we can do that when we're talking. But at the same time, we got to be sure and be aware of what the person we're contacting is. And the general rule is we want to make it very easy for them to help us. The easier we make it, the more probability we have of getting that help. Always make that easy. Now, the hot call refers or call us. And I know one particular person who does that. I send a note to him and say, here's a person that may contact you. Here's their contact information. Is it okay for me to give them your name and information? And next thing you know, he's called them up and he's talking to them already before we can go to the next step. Perseverance is required. Job search is the job funnel. All right. We got lots of things going on. We got potential jobs, potential companies, potential contacts, potential connections, all that sort of thing. And as we shoot forth and go forward, we're going to get rejected on a lot of things. The more people we can contact and try to make effective, then the better off it's going to be. So we can't just do a few, we've got to do many. So let me talk about the parable of the sower, for those of you who might be familiar with Matthew 13. So the farmer goes out to sow seeds. Some on the path, birds eat it up. Some on the rocks, but they grew, but they didn't last very long because the plants were scorched and they withered because they didn't have any root. And then you have those amongst the thorns, and they grew up and they choked the plants out. But some fell on the fertile soil, the good soil, and it produced a crop. So how does that apply in our world of networking? Well, the hard ground are the people that hear you, but they, just don't accept it. Not a big deal. They just blow it off, right? The story ground, they listen to you. Okay, there's a big difference between hearing and listening. Hearing, I hear the words. Listening means more about affecting me as to what information you give me that changes something of the way I think. That's a difference in listening. But they show interest, and awareness. Now, the thorny ground, they hear them, but I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this. And then the fertile ground. So 3 out of the 4 aren't going to work for us, right? So that's not a very good percentage, but gee whiz, 25% is not bad. So if we have the right prioritized list of people, you're going to find more fertile ground, all right? The lower you go down in the prioritized list of people who don't know you very much, the less you'll find the fertile ground. So we can increase those percentages by making sure we have the connections. Then I would like to ask you the reverse question. You can help people too in your job search, right? I'm sure that some of you are doing that today. I see some of the different meetings going on, and they are always trying to suggest things. I see people drop something in the chat window, say, contact me, I know somebody here, or whatever it might be. So some of us are doing that and doing that well. But where do you represent? Where do you want to be? I would suggest that the more we help others, the more help we're going to get. So finally, about networking, nurture your network, all right? So you don't want to have to call them and say, gee, it's been 6 years since I called you and I need your help. Live the golden rule. How can I help you? It's not a technique. It's something that you want to do. But if you help others, you will have a plethora of help coming back to you. Help them first. Build that relationship first, and that's going to be a lot more effective. And remember, don't force people to be in our perspective, in our world. They are in their world, right? So think about them when you're talking. That's one of the things about making it easy for them to do it, because people that are working today are quite busy. So let's get into the informational interviewing piece, which is the tool for networking. So the key to all successful, summarize that, build relationships first, ask for assistance second, and offer to be assistance always. Build relationships first, ask, then offer. So what is information interviewing? Why do we want to have them? What keeps us from doing them? And what are the steps? So we'll kind of go through those in some detail. So definition, a tool to build relationships, discover how we can help each other. So when we're in an informational interview, we are looking for ways to help them as much as we are looking for ways they can help us. This is a key differentiator for effective interviewing and relationship building. Find out. I can remember I was in leadership development, and I put in some case studies for leadership, and we talked about a death of a loved one. What do you do in a company when one of your employees has a death of a loved one? What do you hear that most people do? They simply say, well, if you need any help, call me. Now, for those of you that have received that, how many times have you gone out and called them? I mean, it just doesn't work, all right? They're putting the burden on us. If you really want to be effective, you discover the need and supply the support and the help. That's what an informational interview is about. You discover what's going on, what's happening, what's it like, what are the issues, what are the problems, where can I help, those kinds of things. But we want to help them. What can I do to help them, not just help me? That's a very, very key differentiator. So we can also use it for information, gaining knowledge, right? So sometimes we want to talk to people and we're just trying to get some information, all right? This is not a particular job referral or a particular company. Maybe we're investigating an industry or a role or type. Some of us may be changing from one type of job to another. So we want to see if we can't find something, and it's in our research phase. And also is a conversation about a career or company or industry, but someone's able to help us to work towards a job in the future, either directly or indirectly. So that's the job search part of it. And it's also a way to use the front door into a targeted company. I call the resume application process the back door. 2% return on applications. Takes a long time to fill out an application. You certainly want to do some of it, but here we want to raise that percentage of time we spend networking. Why do we want to have them? Well, first of all, how can we help them? I want to put that in the forefront. So we're looking for that. The building and maintaining relationships, get out information, get the up-to-date on trends, maybe improve our interviewing skills with the practice interviews that Mark does on the pit crew and that I do with the interview success workshop. Get somebody to give us some ideas about our ideas. What do you think about my aspirations? What do you think about skills? What do you think about these strategies? Are these the right approaches? Finding out about the company, the industry, the competition, the products, the services, all right? Getting information about that, or maybe on a target company. And find out really if you want to work there, all right? What's going on? What's happening? I remember working in a particular thing and had an assignment, and we needed 30 people to come down and work for about 9 months to help do some training. And several people came down. Well, you know, we needed the people before we were ready to train. At the same time, we had to start getting moving. And so a manager called me and said, what's going on down there? I mean, people don't know what's going on, what's happening. I says, well, it can appear to many that there's chaos going on down here. But however, we are staffing up prior to and getting the information we need to train those people so they can go out and do the training. But so when that person called and said, oh, I'm very leery of what's happening, is, oh yeah, well, I need to send you some more people. So finding out what's going on and get a potential referral. So when you're looking at a job search for referral purposes or informational purposes, that referral is really going to be a great way to get in that front door of the company. So I'd like to ask another little poll here on what keeps us from doing informational interviews, all right? So we've got several choices here. One is, you know, I'm not ready to do that. I don't have enough connections. I'm not really good at it. I don't really know how to initiate the request. I'm hard to get started on it. I find it difficult to ask for help. It kind of bothers me to do that. And I'm not sure if I want to hear, hear what the truth and what they're really going to say to me.
And this is a multiple choice question, so you can answer, you can pick a couple different things if that's what's bothering you. And for those people watching on Facebook, you're welcome just to put A, B, C, D, E, or F in the Facebook comment field.
Thank you, Jeff. Got a few more people join us since the last poll.
Yes, we have. We're up to 16.
Anybody mark all 5 or 6? Nobody's marked number 6, F yet.
Give you about another 10 seconds to select whichever ones.
So I got a few more people hadn't voted, but we can cut it off now, Jeff. So if you see the results there, 3, I'm not ready. 1, I need more connections. 1, I'm really not good at it. I don't really know enough. That's 2, and I find it difficult to ask for help. And a lot of people are in that category, and so and maybe be in several categories. So with those kind of results, and I think the next slide I'm going to show you some more results. So here's what I'm finding over time. And when Jeff sends me the poll results from today, I'll update these results. But the large percentage is in this 28, 30%, almost, you know, a third each, is I don't know how to initiate and I find it difficult to ask for help. But there's quite a few in the I'm not ready, I'm not connected enough, and I'm not good at it, all right? I'm not ready yet, I'm not connected enough, and I'm not good at networking are excuses, all right? They're saying, well, you know, well, whose fault is that, right? We can get better at it. But my goodness, how do you do it? So I want to, since most people are in this, I don't know how to initiate and find it difficult to ask, I put together the following based on trying to help people get started, get ready to get, you know, plan for it, prepare for it, so you can know how to initiate the request and know how not to feel bad about asking for help. Thank you, Jeff. Question, anybody want to unmute and tell me, how does it make you feel when someone asks for your advice and help? Who would like to volunteer?
Sometimes I feel like I'm going to be in their debt.
You're going to be in their debt?
Yes.
And is that good or bad?
I think it all depends.
Okay. Well, there's a culture thing that we do have here, and that is when someone helps us, we feel an obligation of some sort to help them as well, right? And so that's what you're saying. Anybody else have thoughts on how does it make you feel when someone asks for your advice? Thanks, David.
I think this is Chris. I think it makes you feel that you're flattered that someone asked that. Usually if someone's asking you for help or advice, they consider you a friend or someone who is knowledgeable in that topic. So I think it's can be kind of flattering, and usually people, if it's not too long of amount of their time, then they can usually spare some time according to their schedule.
All right. And Chris, if somebody asks you that, would you be willing to spend a little bit of time with them?
For sure, I'd be glad to do that. I've done that before, and it makes me feel good to help out people.
Well, I can tell you how it makes me feel. I've been waiting for people to ask for my advice and help in my jobs for years. I have volunteered for things, didn't even get responses in my emails. I said, yeah, I'll be glad to help out with it. Never heard back from them. And I said, gee whiz, is there anybody out there that would be willing to listen to me to do something? And so when somebody asks, I'm saying, my goodness, that's kind of rare. And when they do ask me, I'm thinking, well, that's really nice because I feel like they value what I have to say and the input that I have to give them. And that makes me feel pretty well. So yes, we are kind of in a little debt, maybe to feel back that we need to do something back. People ask me on the Informational Interview Success Workshop, well, how can I pay you for this? Because it's free. And I just say, pay it forward. Help somebody else, encourage somebody else. That's what you can do. So when somebody does that, then they kind of say, okay, I'm helping and everybody's helping. But yeah, I think we feel better in general. So I'm at the grocery store, and my wife had passed away not too long ago when I was in the store. So I was picking up the necessities. I had bread, milk, potato chips, cookies, stuff like that. And in the case you said, is that all you're going to get? And I said, yeah. I said, I don't know really how to cook. And so I'm in a situation now where I probably need to learn to cook. And she said, well, I can help you learn how to cook. I didn't even ask for help. Here is a stranger, a cashier in a grocery store, willing to help me learn how to cook. And I didn't even ask. People want to help us. A mindset would be a little differently if we said, I'm going to be doing well for others by asking them for their advice. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel. And so it's the fear of asking should go away when we're saying, this is good for them as well as it is for me. So if you feel that way when people ask you, that's how you make them feel. So take away the fear of asking for help. So I'm going to give you some steps, and I'll go through the first four, and then we're going to go through a few of them in detail. Got to know who we are, what we want, what we do, and how we can help. This the old I am, I do, I help. That's what I'll talk about in the workshop. But we have to know this stuff now, all right, before we get in there. And if we don't know it, then the information interviews are going to help us do step one in getting focused, all right? So we're just busy doing that. What is the position or information we want? Identify those people who can help us. Those are the priorities that we looked at. And then we're going to do some research of those people, the company, industry, competition, et cetera. So when I walk into an informational interview and I'm going to talk to Jeff about something, I'm not going to go in there ignorant of everything. I'm going to know something about what we're going to talk about. I'm not going to just walk in there and say, hey, I'm dumb, please get me smarter. So one of the things we can do is we can prepare scripts to get the interview. I'm going to talk about a handout that's coming toward the end of this presentation. Either I or Jeff can drop it into the chat window, make it available to those that are on Facebook. But we can prepare scripts. I'm saying we're getting down to the weeds and the fundamentals. How can we prepare those scripts? So let's talk about them. So a typical call looks like this, all right? Who am I? How do I know about them? How did I hear about them? Who did they refer? How did I find them? All right. Why we value their advice and counsel and insight. Where am I? What am I doing? I'm in career research or something, and I would like their thoughts about whatever specific information. Make that very specific. Explain that we're not necessarily asking for a job. Now, this can be left out if it's not obvious that you are in the job search mode at the beginning. And then suggest 2 specific meeting dates and times. This is closing the request, which is rarely done. It's like I'm saying to Chris, I say, Chris, we ought to eat lunch one day, right? He said, yeah, we should. And then we never eat lunch. But if I say, Chris, are you available for lunch next Tuesday? That's a lot stronger, and that's going to make it happen a little bit easier. So here's a couple of opening approaches. So I have a referral. Somebody said that. And so I was speaking with Joe Smith, and he suggested I contact you. Very, very simple. We have something in common. A great way to meet people is find something in common. Look on their LinkedIn page. Anything in common, a school, an activity you're following, a volunteer event or effort, anything that says that. Or even if it's, I know, you and I know Jeff. I know Jeff. So that's the first one. But here is, how did you find that person? If it doesn't, so I don't have a referral, but I found it in LinkedIn, or I found it in a database. I found it some other place. All right. How did I do that? So that's just the opening sentence. Changing career direction. I'm making some important career decisions, and I think your advice would be extremely helpful. If I asked that and said that to you, would you feel good about, gee, this person is valuing my information? I'm in the process of making a career change, and I get to for about 20 minutes or so. Now I'm just trying to set a specific time. All right. Those are just some examples. So let's talk about a referral example. In general, we would start out with something like, well, I'm Fred Johnson. Now, here's how I know you, and here's what we have in common. I'm interested in, and this is the information I'm looking for. And in particular, I'm looking for these types of people, all right, the target people, who might provide what information do I want these people to provide, as well as any thoughts maybe on any additional information. And why we value them with your what? Knowledge, expertise, experience, information available, history, background, whatever it is that's in your background that says, here's why I want to listen to you. Here's why I value your information. Here's what's important. And I believe you might know the kind of people that I'm looking for. So do you know someone, or know someone who knows someone who can give me that information or who fits that description? Don't get just one. You know anybody else? Ask for some more. Here's another one. I met you at Toastmasters last month. I'm looking for finance executives, specifically in healthcare. Think of you somebody's advice I value. Do you know someone that fits that description? So here's some scripts that are to help you get started. We need to write our own scripts. So these are just some examples to help you get started. Now, we get a referral. What happens next? How do you know this person, right? Why do you think they would be a good contact for me? What do you think is the best way to contact them? Would you be willing to contact them to see if they would take my call? That's called warming up the call instead of a cold call and just saying, Joe said to contact you. May I use your name? And who else do you think I should talk to? All right, get more referrals, get more information. And end with, how can I be of assistance to you? Find out that information. Sometimes it goes all the way from, well, I don't know Jeff, but I know that he does some stuff in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on job search. Or I know Jeff really well. I've been a speaker on his for 8 years. So I want to look at the relationship that a person has with the referral and see what relationship. The stronger that relationship, the better off we are. We'd really like to find that out. But if it's not a real strong one, we still would go in, know that information. So, talk with Jeff. he suggested I call you. He said that he's been working with you for the last 8 years. That's a little bit different. And follow up with your connection. This is a huge mistake that I see people making. I give a referral, I give his contact information, and I get an email back and it says, thank you. Then I never hear anything. I mean, I'd like to know what happened as in that. Did you follow through? Were you able to connect with anybody? Did something happen or anything like just, no information whatsoever? That's kind of damaging the relationship. To keep that up, come back, says, here's what happened, here's what I did, or I decided not to use that person, or whatever it might be, to follow up with the person who gave you that that referral. All right. If they don't provide a referral, thank them anyway. And then there's 3 options you can ask, or sample questions you can ask to say, what advice would you give me on what I should do next? How do you suggest that I find this type of specific information? What would you do if you're in my shoes next? Same type of question. I appreciate your time. Is there any way that I can be of assistance to you, offering help? Here's the suggested I call you. I'm going to give you a more detailed one. I was speaking to Joe Smith. He suggested I contact you. Here's the process of making some career decisions. Give me some valuable advice with your experience. Brief meeting. The goal is to get some advice for you. And then here's that close on the request. Would Tuesday at 10 a.m. or Wednesday at 2 be best for you? Right? It's not the we'll get together sometime. Go ahead and try to set the time, put it on the calendar right now. Give specific information to see if you can't get that scheduled. What are the key words in this request? Because they all kind of generate something based off of keywords that are in every one of them. They are whatever you're looking for, like career decisions, what's going on in the background, the valuable advice that you give me. I want a brief meeting, advice and insight. Or the word advice is really strong, and the specific times, but the key words are those. So all of your informational interview requests probably will contain those specific 4 pieces of information. We got something in common. I found you here. Here we go again. It's the same sentences I had before. The career decisions, the advice, the brief meeting, and go here. So looking at this, take this down to say, all right, if I'm going to write a script, I want to try to incorporate these 5 bullets. Okay. What's going on? What's the purpose, the advice, insight, the value they bring? A brief meeting. I don't like giving ranges for meetings because ranges always have one person thinking of the low number and one person thinking of a high number, right? So if I'm looking at a salary from 50 to 60,000, I'm hearing 60 as a candidate and 50 as the hiring manager, right? So just go ahead and say, oh, here's a specific time, all right? Just ask for that. And if they don't have that much time, you can come back and say, well, if 20 minutes, can we do 15? And do something like that. Preparation for handling objectives, because we're going to get a few of those. So let's talk about those. These are also in the handout. I realize you're busy. I want to ask you for a few minutes. Would it be more convenient for you to do this over the phone? In other words, persist, right? Don't just say, okay, I know you're busy. In fact, please don't start out with this. I know you're really busy, but I'd like to have 20 minutes with you. Well, you just gave them a reason not to spend time with you. That is not a good sales technique at all. Say, I know you're busy. I know you're trying to be considerate. I know you're trying to be thoughtful for them. But at the same time, you're just saying, here's the drift of it. Here's my basic situation. Here's what's going on, what's happening, what I'm looking for you. Would you be willing to spend a few minutes over that? Some will say, well, just send me the resume. So I'd be glad to, but I'm really looking for information and advice at this time. Now that depends. If depending on the relationship, depending on what's going on, what's happening, if this is the first time you meet them, you don't want to really offer a resume, but you want to have one available, right? What is best? Having a person give you a resume to someone, or having a person introduce you to someone and give them a bio that talks about you. And you can tell that person that's introducing you to say, here are 2 things that I'd like you to say about me when you introduce me to them. right? I'm making it easy for them to introduce me and say something, as opposed to, hi, I got this resume, you might want to take a look at it. Now, that may help us, but it's not nearly as effective as the alternatives that I'm suggesting. I think I can help you. Well, Joe said you could really know a lot about this, and I think you know more than you give credit for. You know a lot more than I do about that, all right? These are examples of just not taking the first thing they reject with in an objection and just living with it, all right? Stick with it. Try to continue on. Don't give up. People will react and respond to people who are more persistent than those who do not, okay? I was watching a show, and this young lady introduces her boyfriend to her mother and says, my mother has run every one of my boyfriends off in the past. Well, he actually goes back and visits the mother, and come to find out that she says, yep, those that were scared off were not good enough for you. The one that came back, he is, right? That persistence. Having no openings, I appreciate that, but I'm just looking for information. I'm not looking for that job at this point in time. I know you get a lot of get calls and things. I'm sure it's because of your knowledge experience. That's why I'm only asking for a few minutes. Keep going. Transfer you to the head of recruiting. Yeah, that would help them, but can we spend a couple minutes first? All right. Don't just stop at the first objection. Don't have any contacts. So you can look at these. They're also in the handout to give you some more information about it. Preparing questions that we're going to use in an interview. How many questions should we prepare? Assuming that we have 20 minutes, all right? Well, 10 if the average questions take 2 minutes. 20 if at the end of your 20 minutes and your connections give you permission to go longer. We're going to reset the clock for another 20 minutes. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Prioritize our questions. Prepare the fewest number of questions that we might use to reach the information objective or the purpose of that meeting. So if I only get to ask 3 questions, well, what would they be? All right, 4, but have more in your hip pocket, right? Always include how I can help you at the end. So I keep pushing on that. Things can turn from information into job interviews, and it can morph into a job interview. They might start asking questions about you at the end. Say, well, tell me what are you looking for? You know, tell me about you. And they're at the beginning and say, okay, what is it specifically that you're looking for? How can I help you? So we want to have specific answers on exactly what you're trying to achieve in the purpose of that meeting, and the information about how they can help specifically. If you go in without purpose, you go in without preparation, and you just go in kind of blank, and you don't do well at answering these questions, these potential questions, we're not going to look very positive. Have about 3 target companies available. Where are you looking? Because you might want to translate whatever you're doing from the information into more of a referral. All right. You can start out with information, you might end up into a referral situation. Here's some sample questions. The handout has a lot more types of questions, all types of questions that you can ask. This one at the bottom is what keeps you awake at night. I've scratched that out because I would like people to delete that one. It's too often used. It turns hiring interviewers off because they hear that question so often. Rephrase it, say something else. What you're looking for is the problems, issues, and challenges. So a question says, well, what's happening? What's going on in your field today where there are opportunities for improvement or specific goals that you're trying to meet, all right? Those kind of things. Keep it positive. Now, here's where you can find the information interviewing handout. Well, Jeff, do you want to put that in the chat, or do you want me to?
Mute my mic. Yes, I've got it right here. I'll put it in right now. This is the Dennis O'Hagan handout. Yes. Right.
This started with Dennis O'Hagan gave a presentation following this handout. And Jeff asked me to take it over when we lost Dennis. And so I've done that, and I've added a few things to it, of course. And I added a few things to it this morning. So always edit and do things every time I do this. Anyway, but that's something you can take a look at. So I want to just spend a little moment on cultures and values questions, because job interviewing is selling who we are, what we do, and how we help. And what do you think is the most important? Well, I'm going to tell you that it's the I am side, because if the characteristics, the personality, the way you communicate, the energy level, whatever it might be, and how you present yourself isn't good, it does not matter that you can do the job and that you can help them achieve things, because you won't be happy there. They won't be happy there either. So the I am is important. So one of the things that we want to find out in our informational interviewing referencing jobs is the I am side, the culture side of it. So we can take about in an informational interview, and we want to find out what are the actual working environment culture. There's three kinds of cultures. One is the aspirational value system. One is the posted value system, and the other is this is what we actually do here, value system. So I want to find out the actual one, the working values. So before the interview, we have to identify what is the target culture we like, what kind of leadership style, communication, collaboration, whatever it might be. What's the environment where we thrive, we enjoy working in that, and that's in our best way. And we love going to work with that type of environment. So tell you what, let's take an example of one. And I'm going to talk about collaboration and teamwork. So here's what I did with collaboration and teamwork. So I built a little table, and I said, all right, I want to know what the company value is. And these are the ones that are on my target. These are the ones I like. I'm going to look at the definition of it. I'm going to look at the value of the value. How is it demonstrated? And what questions might I ask? So I'm going into a lot of detail on a particular value to do this. So I have a definition of teamwork and collaboration. Now, I inserted the word shared here out of the one that many definitions that I found. It's a lot better if we all have a shared goal, because if you don't have a shared goal, there's not a lot of teamwork. You may have collaboration, but you don't have a lot of teamwork. So here's the value of it. What does teamwork and collaboration do for us? And so here's 5 bullets about things that it does. We get to 2 + 2 = 5. We're driving growth and innovation. Here's some very, very positive things of why that's positive and why that's good for the company. So how do we see that? So what's going on? What's going to the work environment like? And you see these types of things inside of a company that show that there's good teamwork and collaboration, all right? Good relationships, quality and high, consistent output, equal success, understood, mutually agreed upon goals, very, very key thing. So here's some demonstrations about it. So, all right, so what questions do we want to ask to see if those are demonstrated? So I came up with some questions over here of saying, all right, let me ask a question to show if these things over here are demonstrated. And so those are the questions that would go on my list. And I would probably only ask 1, maybe 2 about that particular value that you're looking for. I would do that for each of the values that I'm looking for. So then there's the interview itself. Opening is introducing ourselves, the purpose, talk about them first, be personable, compliment them. We've got the opening statements that I started with to get the referral and get that. But now that we're into the informational interview, talk about them, let them talk about them, start with them. Compliment them with what you admire about them. Build that relationship first at the beginning of the meeting by finding out about them. Brief information about us that helps them help us. Well, what specifically? Now, I don't want to tell you my life history, my life story, all that, just the specific information about me that says, this is where I am, this is what I'm looking for, and then this is how you can help me. All right? Have your questions prepared, prioritize, take notes. When I see people, and when I'm hiring people and they don't take any notes, it bothers me, because I don't know if they're really listening to me. I don't know if they really feel that it's important what I'm saying to them. And it's just a question mark in my mind. Now, they may have the capability of remembering everything, but for those who take notes and ask permission at the beginning to take notes and are doing that, are telling me They want to capture this worthwhile information. It's a very, very positive sign. And look for many items and areas where you may help them. So I'm talking to somebody, I'm in product management, product development, and I said, well, I noticed this on the earnings report, earnings call, and the CEO was saying we're looking for more products with higher margins. So what are we doing about that? What are you doing? What's going on? Why do I ask that? Because I can help them do that. That's what my job is. That's very pertinent to me and see what's going on. This may be a target company, or it may become a target company because of this informational interview. Close, always close. A lot of fault in our interviews and even our information interviews without closing. Appreciate all your advice. It's very helpful. Should improve my career decisions considerably. So I'm giving them some value of what they're telling me in the close and saying, this was good. I really like this. It's great stuff. Can I ask you another favor? Do you know 2 or 3 people who could help me? I want to conduct as much research as possible. Find other connections, find other contacts to do that research, okay? Very important to do that. If you get each contact or connection can give you 2 connections and then give you 2. I mean, you got 32 very, very quickly. If they provide a referral, we went through this before. How do you know the person? Can I use your name? So don't forget that in your close, all right? If they don't provide a referral, thank them and appreciate their time and their thoughts. Do you know anybody else that I can talk to? How can I be of assistance to you? Maybe you found something during that information interview that you might be able to do for them, additional thing you can do for them. You're talking about a particular thing and you know something about it, you do a bit of research on it, and you might send them an email, a note, and say, well, here's an article I found about this that I thought was very interesting, all right, to help that person. Very, very positive to go above and beyond the call of duty compared to what many people do. Any commitments made, all right? When you make that commitment, you want to follow up on it. Be very, very sure that you follow up on any commitments you make. If you do not, it's going to look really bad. Now, maybe it's appropriate to say, during the coming weeks, if you hear any job opportunities, I appreciate being kept in mind. Feel free to pass my name on to others. So if that is an appropriate thing to do at the end of it, because timing is a lot of getting jobs, right? We target these companies, we keep following them, we keep working with them, we keep talking to people in there, letting them know that we're looking for something so that when it comes up, they think of us, right? Stay within the time limit. So when the 20 minutes are up, say, thank you for your time. It's been 20 minutes and I respect your time. Then they might say, well, we can go a little bit longer. We can go further. And you say, okay, well, so I go another 20 minutes and then reset the clock. Be prepared to answer those questions that they might talk about you after you get some information. Be prepared for these responses. Have your business cards, bio, and resume handy. Now, this may be virtual. It may be something you can send to them electronically. Be prepared for a job interview. There are situations where the informational interview has turned into a job interview. So last one, follow up. Thank you notes and tracking. So send your thank you notes right away. You've probably heard about sending thank you notes, but I'm telling you, not very many of them are sent. You send them for just helping you. Anybody that helps you should get a thank you note quickly, all right, soon. Nurture our connections, periodic communications. In your table of here's all my connections and here's what's going on, what's happening, I keep that up so that I like to put it in Excel because I can sort and I can do things in Excel that are not as easily done. But anyway, use either one you want. But something, because I can look this data next step, sort on that, and I can see what dates and what activities are coming up that I need to pay attention to, making sure that I follow them. So I suggest some sort of table that you can use to follow up with all your connections, contacts. A couple of more things, going from uncomfortable to comfortable. So we talked about, I'm not ready, I'm not sure about how to do this. So I'm giving you some tips on how to get started. I'm giving you some particular scripts that you can use, some ideas that you can use in trying to request and get information about that. but we still, now that I know what to do, yeah, I know what I should do. I remember when I lost my wife, they said, my children said, Dad, you need to get out. You need to meet people. I said, I know all the things I need to do, but I don't want to. Okay. I just don't want to do it. So I had to make myself do some things. All right. So how did I start doing that? Well, here's a technique that you might want to use to do this. So here's the change you want to make. I want to start engaging in informational interviews. That's my objective. What do I stop doing? I'm going to stop making excuses. Instead of saying I'm not ready yet, I'm going to do the things that are going to get me ready. Okay. People talk about the interview success workshop and they say, I'm not ready yet. And my question is, well, can you tell me what are you doing to get ready? And there's this long pause, it's empty, it's void, there's nothing there. And so I can help you get ready with the workshop. Just jump on in, come on in as you are, where you are, doesn't make any difference. And we'll see if I can help you get moving on this. So what do I really want to do? What I really want to do, my target is to start having these interviews. So give ourselves permission, all right? The only thing that's generally holding us back is ourselves in accomplishing this. And so a sentence, write it out, put it down. I give myself permission to do this. It's a priority for me. It's going to help me. Writing it down kind of makes it makes it a little bit firmer in our minds. Start small and then grow. Small actions consistently over time. So identifying a little step, for example, start with someone we know, practice with it. Take someone you already know and use your script and use them for an information interview. Contact me, use this. Here's what I'm looking for, whatever it might be. Do you know someone in that area? You use that script. And then you want to make a habit. So what you have to do to make a habit is you have to do it. So fix a particular goal in your minds that I'm going to try to schedule this many a week. So it might not be that you hold them that week, but I'm going to schedule for the future. And then I would like to have this many actual information interviews per week. When you set that down, if you're a member of an accountability group, which I strongly suggest, then you can say, all right, here's what I set for myself and here's what I did. And people can help you accomplish those things. So that's some specific idea or technique of trying to get you into that mode of going ahead and doing this. So there's three types of people: those who make things happen, those who watch what happens, and those who wonder what happened, right? Well, guess where we are? Networkers are in those places that make things happen. That's me, interview success coach with the interview success workshop. Any questions that we have on information interviewing or networking?
I did not see any questions in the chat window. What's that QR code do for me?
It orders breakfast at McDonald's.
Oh, good.
Good question. If you would like to, let me talk just a bit about the workshop. This is on job interviews, and it's focused on the fundamentals of selling ourselves. I am, I do, I help, and differentiation in a workshop. We start with the fundamentals. We start with the basic categories of questions, the options, strategies, opinions, ideas about how we answer. All of that's based on the question, the person asking, and where you are in the process. You get a video for that, to go through that. The interview is not very long. We go over and look at responses and discuss and see if we can't improve ourselves and how we might be able to do that. All focused on the job description that you have. It can be a sample one or a real one, but something that you have as a target. And we can say, are our answers relevant to that? And how can we demonstrate some of those things? So it's using the STAR stories, answering overqualified, talking about strengths and weaknesses and salary and openings and closings and all those kinds of things. So I'd be glad to have you sign up. You have to be registered to attend. My LinkedIn page gives you in my about section. This QR code will start an email and it'll send it to my Yahoo email address. And you edit a couple of things in there. It says I would like to register, and I'll respond with some dates and times. But it's a very informal process, and we call it learning without squirming.
Well, Walt, thank you very, very much for your time. Great information, lots of information on there. Let's see here. Yep, I'm just reading comments here. So, yep, no questions I see. So, Walt, thank you very much. I don't want to keep anybody longer, just a few closing slides here. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow. We have a great, very interesting speakers tomorrow. They're going to talk about reference solutions, how to identify, how to research, and how to network in target companies. We talked about networking today, but how do you find those target companies? How do you find those companies to network with? Well, Mike Ray and Pete Hernandez are going to talk about reference solutions. And this is a great way to expand how to find other companies that do what you do that you may have never known about. So join us tomorrow. If you don't have a public library card, I recommend you get one this afternoon, because after you see their presentation, you're going to want to go play with the reference solution program that most of the public libraries offer. Next Tuesday, our LinkedIn presentation will be about how to drive recruiters to your LinkedIn profile. Next Wednesday, hopefully we'll have an actual practice interview. I know we haven't had any in the last couple of weeks. If you'd like to schedule a practice interview, just reach out to dallaspitcrew.com to get all the information you need about that. And then next Thursday, let's see here, Andy Cook will be with us to talk about resumes, and she'll share her thoughts about what she sees and what she's a recruiter and what she likes in resumes. If you've not joined the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to do so. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group, but you're welcome to join both. And this will get you, I mean, just think about it. Join the Career DFW group, you're going to have 13,000 new people that you can connect with and network with. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, best way to do it is click on playlist, because every video that I upload will take us YouTube a couple hours to upload this video. But once it's up there, click on playlist and then select networking or whichever topic you'd like to go back and watch. And then you can go back and you can see the different, it'll show the newest one on top, and you'll be able to go pick whichever speaker you'd like to go back and listen to. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll not be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can grab your lunch or grab your breakfast and join us for our meeting, and you don't have to go look us up to find out where we're at. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Walt's a volunteer. All of our speakers who present are all volunteers, and I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 13 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much, Walt. And we ask people that if you do land, please consider making a donation so we can continue to provide the services that we're doing every day. So thank you for joining us, Walt. Once again, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Right on.